So the point here, what you have to understand is what the biochemistry says. Um, Glucose coming into us, to our bloodstream, all the human cells can understand and recognize. But spite of knowing all these things, the funny part of it is to, the commercial world of, sweets and sweet related products like bakeries and so on and so on. I don't want to name the name. So they came out with high fructose corn syrup. So this is a very interesting honor was given to me by, accepting my work and publishing these journal articles and making it a place in the reference section in these top science libraries, which was one of the greatest.
Hello and welcome to Dr.C.K.Nandagopalan YouTube channel. I'm your host Susan. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning to you.
I understand from your point about fructose in sugar, which is the culprit. Can you explain what fructose is and what it does to our human body?
Okay, initially when I came into this area of studies of carbohydrate science, I did not know much about fructose. So, yeah, I could manage to study the carbohydrate science to a large extent, but then only I started studying more of fructose later after I did my innovation on the sugar. And I was surprised to know that I have answered fructose in the sense like I did not work on that. My intention was to work to come out with a precise technology to make sugar diabetic friendly. That's all was my aim and my ambition, and which I could do it. But then fructose was the world challenge. I came to know later. After I achieved my innovation, immediately I started exploring more and more into these molecules. So there I started slowly got exposed to the research works, and of course fructose was initially identified in way back in 1847 by a French scientist, Augustin Pierre. Later on, 10 years later in 1857, the word fructose was coined by William Miller, a British scientist. If you see all the sugar molecules, they all end with OSC, the three letters called OSC, glucose, fructose, galactose, maltose, lactose, sucrose, idose, allose, deallose, and raffinose, ribose, pseudoheptylose, kestose. It goes on and on, xylose. It goes on and on and on. There are many sugar molecules have been identified so far. But predominantly the sugar was made 50% by glucose and fructose. The point that you have to understand is both of them are the same, C6H12O6. 6 atoms of carbon, 12 atoms of hydrogen, and 6 atoms of oxygen. Atoms come together and form molecules. So both of them are the same. But what is the difference between the glucose and fructose is if you go to the net and see the picture of this formation of these atoms as a molecule, the 6 member carbon atoms will be in an open chain form in a glucose. In fructose, the 5 member carbon ring will be there. One carbon atom will be out. So it's called the beta fructose because the configuration looks like beta. This glucose is alpha glucose because the configuration of this carbon elements are of the alpha configuration. So it's alpha glucose plus beta fructose makes sucrose. So the first carbon atom of the alpha glucose and the second carbon atom of the beta glucose is bonding with each other. That's how they are together, which is called sucrose. So the point here, what you have to understand is what the biochemistry says. Glucose coming into us, to our bloodstream, all the human cells can understand and recognize that it is my energy fuel. So they consume, they intake, the human cells observe the glucose metabolism, transport glucose into the human cells. Whereas when the fructose come in, along with the glucose, when the fructose come in, when it is in the intestine through the portal vein, it goes to the liver. Liver cells alone, they are only 240 billion hepatitis cells, liver cells made, the organ of the liver. They are the only guys who can recognize fructose as their fuel. They can metabolize the fructose as a fuel to energy source to run the cells, liver cells. Whereas the rest of the body, other than the liver cells, none of the other cells of the entire mass of the body, whether it's a heart cell or a respiratory cell, a neuron cell or a muscular tissues, or it goes on and on, skin cells, whatnot, they cannot identify fructose as a fuel. So what happens? They are not consumed. So that is why you should not have sugar more. You need sugar. A prescribed amount of sugar, the fructose part of it is consumed by the liver cells, no issues. When you eat more sugar, other than the liver cells metabolism and the balanced fructose, so they normally in overall calculate 29 to 51% of the fructose is consumed by the liver cells. So balance is left out. So if you're going to eat more and more sugar, more sugar related products, you're going to make fructose in your bloodstream more and more to the outside part of the body from the liver, where the body cells, most of the predominant cells in our body other than the liver cells, cannot identify fructose. So the fructose cannot be consumed as energy fuel by the rest of the body other than the liver cells. So what's going to happen to this fructose now? Now fructose gets converted to lactate, fructose gets converted to triglyceride, fructose gets converted to uric acid, and more than 40% of the fructose get converted to fat. And this is a fellow who's doing all kinds of work here, wrong things to our human body. So that's why when you eat more of sugar, you put on weight because of the fructose load getting converted to fat. See, suppose if you have a triglyceride problem, or an LDL. LDL is a totally a different ball game altogether. So if you have triglyceride problem, higher on the triglyceride, if you have 10 to 12 spoons of sugar, life sugar, in your daily tea and coffee or lime juice, or even in hot water, whichever you prefer it, slowly your triglyceride comes down within a month or two. Those who faces uric acid problem, then more of uric acid leads to a problem called gout and so on. So they are, people who should stay away from normal sugar related products and fruits. Fruits, more of it have fructose load. There are people who turn around and speak, talk, eat a lot of mangoes, so you can feel free to eat a lot of mangoes because your blood glucose don't go high. If your mango is a lot of fructose load, and it's going to harm you in a big way if you're going to eat too much of mangoes. It's not going to be good for you. So fruits. And one more thing is corn. Corn is having a lot of fructose. In spite of knowing 50 years of research, even though fructose was identified in 1847 and named in 1857, we did not have the biochemistry science, which was much developed, only started in the year 1930. Only the first British scientific group from 1970 onwards started studying the fructose, whatever that I have explained so far. In 1974, the first book on fructose came, what is happening to fructose in the human blood and so on, and the reactions in the human system and the human body. But then a famous guy who was a professor by the name Robert Lustig, there are a lot of videos on him in the YouTube. who has worked in the last 50 years, close to 50 years on fructose. He's the number one guy in the world. I'm closely in touch with him for many years now. And he's a guy who worked a lot on fructose. And one of his assistant scientists also who worked along with me on many areas. All these guys are connected to the Business Carbohydrate Science Department at the University of the Indianapolis in America. And they're the guys, this Visitor Carbohydrate Science Department is the number one carbohydrate science unit in the world. Other than that, if you want to do some sophisticated way of researching in carbohydrate science, you have to go to Japan. So these are the two countries which are highly forward. But all top food companies in the world certify their basic parameters, test reports and results and other things from this Indianapolis University Visitors Carbohydrate Department. But spite of knowing all these things, the funny part of it is to, the commercial world of, the sweets and sweet related products like bakeries and so on and so on. I don't want to name the name. So they came out with high fructose corn syrup. So corn has got a lot of fructose, so they extract that, and then they came out with high fructose corn syrup, which is much cheaper compared to sugar. And then they play around with that in the last 20-25 years, knowing that fructose is not good for us. These are all the sum of the information for the benefit of the viewers. What in the end, when I found the GCMS studies, I knew when I came to know about the fructose after my innovation, I knew that there is a larger change in the sugar with respect to fructose. So I was desperate enough to study them, and I could manage to study them in the end, as I've explained to you before, in the gas chromatography mass spectrometry, finding that the fructose has changed over to carboxyaldehyde side. So it was a blessing and disguise situation that the fructose problem was solved for the first time in the world. And then I could manage to make an article, and there's one of the most advanced number one journal for advanced food science, which is called the European Journal for Advanced Food Science. It functions in UK. Then I wrote my article there, and it was well accepted and published, and it was kept in the reference section of the 5 top libraries of United Kingdom: the Library of University of Cambridge, the Library of University of Oxford, the Library of University of Trinity College of Dublin, the Library of Trinity College of Scotland, and the Library of Trinity College of Wales. So this is a very interesting honor was given to me by accepting my work and publishing these journal articles and making it a place in the reference section in these top science libraries, which was one of the greatest achievement. And this is what is fructose. That is why sugar has to be taken as an inevitable food. At the same time, excess of sugar because of fructose should not be taken, which can create a lot of other problems. So you have to measure yourself according to your body mass weight to understand how much of sugar that you should consume. You should not stay away from the sugar at the same time. Back to you, Susan.
Doctor, but we in Indian culture are used to having a lot of fruits. They insist us to have a lot of fruits. Our parents insist us, the kids, to have a lot of fruits. So now you say fruit has fructose, so it is bad for our health.
No, you can have fruits. There is not that you should stay away from fruits. Fruits also have glucose. They have more. Your diet has to be balanced. You cannot have too much of fruits, number one. But unfortunately, you may not like what I'm going to tell you. In the last more than 20 years, all kinds of fruits in every part of the world is been coming into the market with a heavy chemical spray. One, there are certain chemical sprays to ripen them very fast. The second, there are chemical sprays to enhance their shelf life, to move it around the world for better shelf life and to sell them. So what happens here is it's better at this juncture with your advanced food science coming out with many chemical combinations to increase the shelf life of the foods. It is better for every one of us to stay away from fruits, what is coming into the market. Rather, you go to a place where your own farm or something, where you can pluck your fruits and eat. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Watch us, subscribe us, and support us. Thank you.